Welcome back, part 2 of the training series, the general introduction. So last time we covered the basics of how it worked. We covered stuff like enjoying it, probably the most important thing of all, switching things up. Was it necessary? We talked about how hard or how long you could train. We talked about positive resistance, different styles. The fact that the muscle doesn't have eye, it only has a perception of workload. And we finished on muscle shortening. So today we're going to continue from there. Now, don't be afraid to try different techniques. The first few years of my training, I tried just about every training style on the book. And as a result, I've learned a massive repertoire of both exercises and training styles and techniques. So if sometimes I'm not feeling it or I've got to work around an injury, I can recruit from a big database. The more you experience, the more tools you'll have in your toolbox and the more adaptive you can be. Now, a lot of modern day gyms these days have fancy this, fancy that, fancy the other. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that also doesn't mean don't be scared of old school shit. It worked for him back in the day, and it will work for you. It is amazing the multiple of exercises you can do with a barbell. So don't just stick to machines, Do some old school shit, because the one thing machines don't teach you, is overall control. And a thing that I think a lot of people struggle with, and I fall victim of this, is poor core control and core imbalances. And one thing out of everything you do when you train you should not neglect is your core. It is the center of your machine. It is the stability of your machine. And it needs to work correctly. Muscular imbalances due to weaknesses in lower ab wall or ham and glute tightness and things like that pull on your back, which is something I currently suffer with and I have problem with. Same with chest or back overdevelopment. People start to round, balance. Your physique needs balance, not just from an aesthetic point of view, but from a physical well-being point of view. Now, I've never been one for stretching. It still bores me stupid to this day. But I finally realised after all my years on this planet that it is important. Mobility and flexibility is important. Do not neglect it. Body position. No exercise should really put yourselves, there may be a few exceptions obviously, but no exercise should really put you in a position of weakness. When you squat, chest up, head up, neutral position. Lower spine, neutral position, very important. Do not hyperextend it. That means overly curve it. Triceps, head up, chest up. Biceps, head up, shoulders back, chest up. Everything, chest up, chest up. Lift your ribs, your chest, support your core. Brutally important. Another thing is grip. I'd like you to do a little bit of experiment for me. Next time you train, biceps, triceps, back, shoulders, chest, I want you to change your grip. Instead of gripping with these as your predominant grip, I want you to focus on gripping with this. Pull the bar deep into your palm and really overly emphasize that you're gripping with your little finger. Don't do it every set because you won't have the forearm strength or the ability to do it if you've not done it before. And then get back to me on how it changed how the exercise felt. Now, talking about exercises and selecting exercises. Don't do an exercise just because you think you have to. if it doesn't work for you. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try though either. So if your particular gym has a leg press and you just cannot get on with it for whatever reason, or it hurts your lower back, then why do it? It's not essential. There are other exercises, but do break the exercise down into a lightweight. Get your form correct, get someone to watch it or video it, whatever you need to do, and just make sure that it's not the exercise that's incorrect for you, and it's the exercise incorrect for you, and it's not the way you're doing it. If you're ever unsure about a movement, slow it right down. Time under tension reps are incredible for improving our ability to perform certain exercises, particularly if you struggle with getting a feel. Argument's sake, bench press. A lot of people bench, a lot of people don't feel it in the chest. Slow the movement down. And we're talking 5-6 seconds negative, 5-6 seconds positive. Fully down, touch your chest, fully look out, extend, slight squeeze, then back down again. At that speed, you can change elbow camber, grip positions, and you can see which position and range gives you the most responsive connection within your chest. Once you get there, hold it. Work on it for a week or two, and then start to build the weight up again. If after all this you still can't get on with this exercise, fuck it off and find something else. A muscle attaches a pivot point. Okay? And it has one job. Well, two, but it pulls or it extends. That's it. That's all it fucking does. So, as long as you're loading it over that movement, then you're going to cause it to grow. And one of the prime examples of this is biceps. There is no difference between a concentration curl and a standing barbell curl if done correctly in how it activates the two heads of the bicep. The only difference is concentration curl, you can't cheat, and the bicep curl, barbell curl, you can. Now that cheating will allow you to move more weight, and as long as you control the negative portion of that movement, then you'll get some benefit from it. But the vast majority of people don't, so therefore they don't benefit from it. So if you're struggling with an exercise, give it a hearty effort. Take some time with it. If you still can't get on with it, bin it. There is no rule that says you must squat, you must do this, you must do that. It's what works for you. But make sure that when you say it works for you, you're telling the truth. And it's not a case of, well, it doesn't really, but I just don't like squatting because it's hard work. We go back to what we said in the first video. You'll get out of it what you put into it. Every now and again, check your form. Go back, recheck, tighten things up, because with the best will in the world, all of us start to develop bad habits and get sloppy and lazy and such like, and it's every now and again, it's just good. And if you get the opportunity to train with different people, train with different people. Soak up their experience, learn from them, try a different way. So there's no hard and, there's nothing wrong with flying before you bench. There's nothing wrong with benching before you fly. They are all just as effective as stimulating growth if done in the correct way. You can go heavy on any exercise. There's nothing wrong with going heavy as long as it's controlled. I once got asked what was the difference between powerlifting and bodybuilding when it came to training. And I sat and thought about it for a while, and I came up with the following. Powerlifters do everything they can to make that weight easy to lift, because their goal is to lift the maximum amount of weight. Bodybuilders do everything they can to make the weight they're lifting as hard as possible, because their goal is maximum muscle stimulation. If I had a choice of looking like I could bench 600 pounds or being able to actually bench 600 pounds but not looking like it, I'd choose the first. So as a bodybuilder, you should be more focused on how it feels and how many muscle fibers you stimulate through your range of motion than how much weight is on the bar. Having said that, sometimes it just fucking feels good to bench 5 plates. Even though you know it's doing fuck all for you, sometimes pulling a bit of heavy tonnage is very good for the soul. Bear that in mind, we go back to that enjoyment factor. But again, you put out what you get in. So if you are using shitty form or rhythm in order to move heavier weight, you may be enjoying it, but don't start moaning when you don't get the growth that you wanted. And talking about cheating and swinging, this sort of thing. When you do an exercise, think about the muscles involved and the role they play in moving your skeletal frame. If another structure is moving that does not involve the target muscle, then you have to question whether that movement is justifiable. If when you do a standing bar curl, your upper arm moves forward, that in no way is contracting the bicep. That's activating the front delt. Is that going to be constructive in developing bigger biceps? If that's your goal. If your goal is to move more weight in the barbell curl, then yes, it is constructive. If your weight is to grow bigger biceps, then no, it's not. So bear that in mind. Think about the structure, think about how the muscle works, the points at which it attaches and what it moves, and think about that when you're doing the exercise. And if you're unsure, get an anatomy chart and just have a look at how the muscles move. The old gym posters used to be great, where they had the skin stripped off the drawings of the muscles as they move within the exercise, because it really put a fresh, simple vision in your head of what your body should be doing when you perform that exercise. Another thing, as we are probably all aware, a muscle is attached at 2 points, and it's attached via tendons. Those tendons have an element of elasticity. When you expand on the eccentric part of the movement, on the going down bit, or the negative, your muscle expands and your tendons expand. If you go down with momentum, you hit the bottom and you come straight back up, there will be an element of bounce. Now, I'm not talking about when benching and stuff like that, you literally bouncing it off the chest, but there is an element of muscular bounce, tendon bounce. This is when the tendon, as it stretches, gains kinetic power, then as you return, it springs back. So the first part of the movement is not the muscle, it's the tendon elasticity. To get rid of this, down, then up. That very millisecond pause will help dissipate energy from the tendon and result in the muscle fiber having to do the work to move the load. And you'll remove tendon elasticity and you remove skeletal support. Powerlifters go the opposite way. They load their tendons, they load their skeletal frame as much as possible to aid in the lift. As bodybuilders, we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to load our muscular frame, not our skeletal frame and not our connective tissue too much. That way you'll stimulate more muscle fiber and in turn you'll get more growth. Now, there's nothing wrong with cheat reps, half reps to break plateaus. But when they become the norm, you need to walk in the corner, give yourself a slap, and have yourself a hard talking to. Because you're heading down the wrong road, and ultimately it's going to either injure you or definitely restrict your progression. Talking of cheating, I think for most people, cheats should be left alone for a period of time until you've got the training maturity to use them correctly. Far too many people do drop sets, they do 21s, they do 1 half rep, 1 full rep, and all these stupid static hold crap. And yet they don't actually do 1 normal rep correctly. Get the basics right. You'll be shocked how simple a workout can be and how effective it can be if you just work fucking hard. As the famous man once said, everyone wants to be massive, but nobody wants to move big ass weights. And ultimately, unfortunately, you are going to have to move some big ass weights. But get there in your own time, get there when you're ready, and get there with control, range, and form. No one grows when they're injured, trust me. I've got a catalogue of them. So, that is really about it. So, I'm going to leave that there. Next time on this series, we're going to start with the simple one because it's a 1-point movement and probably because it's what I'm most well known for, and we're going to start with biceps. And I'm going to tell you how I got 26.5-inch arms, which were definitely the biggest in the UK, potentially in Europe, and how I got them with no synthol as well. So I'll tell you the exercises I use and the range and techniques I use and what I found to be most effective for bicep growth. And then I will slowly work through the various muscle groups one at a time. By all means, if there are questions you want to ask regarding the video before, post them in the comments, and then what I'll do is when I start the next video, I'll answer the questions from the previous one as much as I can. I'm going to have to do some of these videos in a block format where I record 3 or 4 at once and then schedule them to be released at set times. So if that's the case, still put the question, and the next time I do the recordings, I will get back to the questions on the previous videos that I hadn't already answered. Okay, the reason I'm having to do it a little bit like this is because I am busy and I've allocated a sort of time on one day to do the videos or 2 days to do the videos, so I don't have to try and record one every day, because if I do that I know it's just not going to happen. So like I say, you might find there'll be 2 or 3 videos coming before you see the answers to your questions, but they will get answered, so keep watching because it will come up. Okay guys, thank you for your time, and I'll see you when we do biceps.